Amateur Traveler is in its 20th year now, but can you imagine if I had people on the show who had never been to the destination, but had just read about it or seen a movie about it? That wouldn't make any sense at all, and you wouldn't listen. We all know how important it is to receive advice from people who know a destination to get the most authentic local experience. And a great option for experiencing this is Explore Worldwide and their authentic small group adventures, led by local tour leaders, perfect for solo travelers who want to meet like minded people with a desire for adventure. I'm often an independent traveler, but two of my last three trips were with small group tours because they organize everything and it's a lot easier. If you want to recreate the tour I did to Malta, they have a Malta and Gozo Discovery Tour. I'm intrigued by one of their tours called A Taste of Sicily. The company again is Explore Worldwide, and visit exploreworldwide.com to learn more. And thanks to Explore Worldwide for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. The nights are long, the days are short, and the weather is chilly to downright cold, depending on where you are. It's a good time to slip into a Quince iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at only $50. You can treat yourself to everyday luxury at an affordable price with Quince. If you really want to dive into luxury, you can check out their leather handbags, washable silk shirts, and European linen sheet sets. Whatever you're looking for at Quince, all the prices are 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and they do that by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the middleman. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing processes. And of course, they use premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece. But you've already heard me rave about my Quince travel pants. Treat yourself this winter without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/traveler for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. Amateur Traveler, episode 842. Today, the Amateur Traveler talks about lakes and water parks, supper clubs and state parks, museums and cheeseheads as we go to the state of Wisconsin. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about Wisconsin. I'd like to welcome to the show Dannelle Gay from travelingcheesehead.com. And if you couldn't guess from that, today we're going to be talking about Wisconsin. Dannelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And with a website like travelingcheesehead.com, I'm guessing you are from Wisconsin. We're not just talking about Wisconsin.
Yes, born and bred here. No, we do not all drive tractors. We don't all have pet cows, but we do all love our cheese.
We always used to pick up a 5-pound block of cheese from the neighborhood dairy when we went back to see my mother's family near Appleton, Wisconsin. So I completely understand. She just couldn't find the kind of cheese she wanted out in California.
Oh, of course not. We have, I think, over 600 different kinds, and we have more master cheese makers in Wisconsin than anywhere else in the world. So, yeah, the cheese here, it's good.
Excellent. Why should someone go to Wisconsin?
It is a great place to explore. It's got its stunning natural beauty, unique history, and just a vibrant culture. From the great outdoors to lively cities, there's literally something for everyone. And if you are a foodie, this is a mecca of flavor for your palate, just because so many different ethnicities settled here. And when you tie in the farm to fork community, it is amazing. So outdoor experiences, urban attractions, whatever you're looking for, Wisconsin has it all.
Excellent. What kind of itinerary are you going to recommend for us?
I'm going to take you through 7 different cities, and Wisconsin's really easy to get around as far as a state because with the highways and the public transportation, it's pretty simple. So it's like each city that we start with and then move on to the next, you can drive to in just a few hours.
Okay. And we're starting where?
We're going to start in Eau Claire.
And why Eau Claire? Not just because the TBEX conference is going to be in Eau Claire this summer, I'm guessing.
No, not just because that. Claire's got a lot going for it, and it
Okay.
really presented itself during the lockdown. Wisconsin was hit very hard. In fact, our area had a mask mandate until March of just last year still. Between outdoor experiences, all sorts of fun things, they've just really pulled a lot together that is worth stopping in and checking out.
Okay.
So I personally think outdoor activities, that's their strongest right now. That's what they were
Hmm.
really focused on during COVID. It's funny, they learned that they were the second largest sculpture walk in the United States. Actually, I believe it's the world. They were two statues short. So they ordered three of them. And now
Well,
they have the number one title. They
all
own it.
right.
So there's a lot of Instagrammable moments there when you follow along that tour, but the hiking, the kayaking on the Chippewa River, and then the food. Oh my gosh, the food. Okay, first of all, if you're going to stay somewhere, take a look at the Chippewa Valley Bed and Breakfast. That
Okay.
I think is my favorite place to stay. But some of my favorite restaurants, a kitschy thing, especially if you're like us in the 50 plus crowd. My husband totally, it's like a throwback to childhood. They have a restaurant, it's Reboot Social. So it's a newer restaurant, but they've got a fantastic menu. And it's like a duck pin bowling alley, lots of arcade games. It's a fun place to step back into childhood almost, live in the past. So very casual, great for lunch. But if you're looking at dinner, the Lakely in Eau Claire, it's a farm to table restaurant, has a seasonal menu that's like 100% locally and farmer sourced, very casual Midwest modern comfort foods, but with a kind of a Scandinavian twist. Where a lot of Wisconsin supper clubs do a lazy Susan or they do like a little appetizer tray thing, they're
Okay.
known for their Colt board. So it's their take on it, very Scandinavian, but the meats, the cheeses, and different things. It's one of those
Okay.
great things to start with cocktails, get a Colt board to share with everybody, and just step into the heritage of that area.
So what the Scandinavians are calling a Colt board would be a charcuterie if I was at a French restaurant. Is that what we're talking about at this point?
Yes, but totally cold items. Sometimes charcuterie,
Okay.
they pull in some warmer items and things that are maybe more with a Scandinavian twist to it. Some of
Okay.
their more ethnic type foods and their flatbreads and things like that.
No lutefisk though.
No, that's very
Okay.
Norwegian.
Yes.
No lutefisk on the Colt board. You might see some pickled herring once in a while, though.
Okay. Got it.
And then there was really a big part of the logging industry there. They have an incredible museum there to check out, and it's just changed the name, but let's just go with the Wisconsin Logging Museum at the moment. But perfect Instagrammable shot with the big giant Paul Bunyan and everything like that in there too. So it's a
Okay.
very fun little twist on the history for that. But Eau Claire, more than anything, try and time your visit during the spring, summer, or fall because the outdoor experiences, you will fall in love with nature there.
It's spring, summer. So the only thing I'm avoiding is the cold of winter. Is there a particularly favorite time of year in Eau Claire or a particularly favorite day to be in Eau Claire?
I would say that if you love water sports, you would definitely
Okay.
want to do late spring to early fall because it's just absolutely beautiful on the water there and so many different ways to enjoy the water there.
Okay. Excellent. Anything
But
else
from
with Eau Claire? I know you're going to move us along here, but
I'm moving us along right now to Wisconsin Dells. So instead of being on the water in Eau Claire, you can get soaked at a Wisconsin Dells water park.
okay.
Wisconsin Dells is the water park capital of the world. A lot of people don't know that. They think they've been to a water park when they've traveled, and then they come and they check out the water parks that we have here in Wisconsin Dells. Depending on the time of year that you go, your outdoor experience is going to be varied quite a bit because in Wisconsin, we joke about how we might have snow up to 8 months of the year here. So there's some water parks that are only open in the summer, like Noah's Ark is absolutely incredible. I mean, you can spend the day soaking up the sun and all the different fun things it has. But if you do a weather check in advance before your trip and it's not going to be the nicest, sunniest day, then you want to look at the Kalahari instead. They have an indoor water park besides the outdoor water park. And I got to tell you, they're incredible. Last summer, we were there actually doing some fun stuff with the teens, and severe weather hit Wisconsin. That was the day that 27 tornadoes went across.
Oh my. Okay.
I know. And they were at like 98% occupancy, but they were a well-oiled machine that kept everybody calm. And every 5 foot, there was another employee with a little Kalahari polo. They got everybody in the basement, passed out water, snacks, got towels and blankets for wet kids, got chairs for the seniors that couldn't sit very long on the wet floors and stuff like that. They were amazing. I would be a loyal fan of them for forever because their customer service and how they handle everything
Hmm.
is so well thought out. Okay, no, I do not own stock or anything like that for the Kalahari, but that's just one of those things that when you experience it and it just, you'll never forget it because it was traumatic for so many of the kids and they made it almost a pleasurable experience.
The only thing I have to question is the name of naming a water park after a desert.
They have, okay, this is a family owned, smaller type chain. They have a couple of others in some different
Yep.
states, but their main fundraising project is that they do water type programs actually in the Kalahari. So
Interesting.
they help build
Okay.
water and clean water solutions for other people. So that's a little bit of their tie-in and how they work with their things. It's a water park that actually
Hmm.
makes drinking water for other people. So it's a fun thing.
Interesting.
Other things that you can do there, because not everybody's into the water park thing. The United States' oldest soft drink is sarsaparilla.
Okay.
And you can learn the 300 plus year history if you stop at the Museum of Root Beer, which is downtown Wisconsin Dells. I know.
Okay.
And they even have root beer flights that you can try and taste yourself. So you get to pick from several different kinds of root beer or build your own 6 packs to take home. It's a fun, kitschy thing, but we really thought that was a lot of fun.
Now I know
Let's
A&W root beer has its origins in Wisconsin. Is that, or are there some other brand that's associated? Or is it just all root beers?
This is tons of different kinds of root beer. You learn
Okay.
about over 3,000 different kinds of root beer. They've collected root beer commercials. They have tons of different kinds of root beer products to see.
Okay.
It's really one of those things where I got lost down a rabbit hole when I was visiting there. It was every time you turned around, it was like, oh my gosh, I remember that from when I was a kid. And just the evolution of it and how they've gone to mass producing it, the
Right.
drive-in stands, the small brands that took off and didn't. It's just, you have to go there. It's all I can say. It's absolutely incredible.
Okay.
And it's not too far from a lot of the fudge shops because you have to have Wisconsin Dells fudge.
Okay.
If you're there during the summer, because Wisconsin supper clubs, there's two amazing ones in the area. And Ishnala, you can't beat the view, but they're not open in the winter. So if you can't get into Ishnala, and I'll warn you now, they do not take reservations. Let's say it opens at 5, you need to be in line at 3 o'clock, but that's okay. The bar is open. You can have a couple of brandy old-fashioned sweets, look out at the lake, see the beautiful views while you wait. It's worth the wait when you go in to eat.
Okay. Now we're starting to get into Wisconsin culture, and I have roots in Wisconsin, but I did not live or live there. What's a supper club versus a restaurant?
Think back almost into the 40s, that slow, leisurely dining experience. It might be a 2 to 3 hour event. You might start with drinks at the bar. You
Okay.
get to the table, appetizers, lazy Susans, or now we call it charcuterie. And you have your prime rib or steak, or there's even things like frog legs. And then you get the after dinner drink, the whole thing. It's a production, it's an event.
Okay. Got it.
They were really big during Prohibition and right after Prohibition, so they kept people drinking, but yet then they could keep them over on the side to eat, and then they brought them back in to keep drinking. So it's something that Wisconsin still hung on to. We've got a couple hundred of them.
Okay.
So the other one, if it's the off season and you can't get into, or you just don't want to wait 2 or 3 hours to get into Ishnala,
Ishnala.
is the Dell Bar. It's owned by two lovely ladies. They are absolutely amazing. And when you go there, you have to start with the stuffed mushrooms appetizer. I'm telling you, don't miss the stuffed mushrooms.
Okay.
We were there on our last anniversary, and it was funny. The young man was saying, oh, congratulations. How long have you been married? And I said, 25 wonderful years. And my husband looks all of a sudden and goes, we've been married 29. And I'm like, yeah,
They were those
25
other four.
wonderful years.
I got
And
in
he even
trouble for a joke like that last year.
server thought it was hilarious, told the rest of the staff. They all wrote, congratulations on your 25 wonderful years on the receipt and all that too. So they're a great group to visit with. But so that's kind of like indoor stuff. If you're looking at outdoor stuff, there's Dell's boat tours, Dell's dinner cruises, that you can go nearby hiking in Devil's Lake, which is one of our beautiful 49 state parks. Again, indoors, outdoors, a lot of fun things to do in the Dells. You can easily make a day of it. A lot of the old guidebooks will say, check out the Tommy Bartlett shows, and that is old. So if you see anything that says Tommy Bartlett, forget it. That's just, it's old stuff, old news.
Now, one of the things we haven't talked about is what is a Dell, and what am I going to see if I do one of those boat tours?
The glaciers, when they cut through, there were a lot of sandstone layers.
Mm-hmm.
So think of the Grand Canyon, but on a smaller scale with a bigger river in it.
Okay.
I guess that's the easiest way to help somebody picture it. You'll see when you go through on a boat tour, everything from bald eagles, turtles sunning themselves. You'll see a lot of things that were tied into Native American culture in the area. Mm-hmm. And the boat tour guides do a great job pointing out and explaining a lot of different things to you.
Okay. And it looks like geologically I'm seeing hoodoos, those stacks of rock where you can pick out the individual layers of the rock, of the sandstone. Yep. Okay.
As how the water cut through them. And yeah.
Excellent.
So from there, then we go over a little north and across a little more east and Door County.
Okay.
Door County is legendary, especially if you love things outside. It's the peninsula between Green Bay and Lake Michigan. Mm-hmm. Some people call it the thumb of Wisconsin.
The thumb, yes.
And if you're into lighthouses, beaches, scenic drives, this is the place for you. A couple of recommendations. First of all, Peninsula State Park. You can go into Peninsula State Park, walk up and down the beach. You can see a different lighthouse right there, and it's free. So that's a fun thing to do. But the food there is incredible. Wild Tomato Pizza has a beautiful patio there, and it's a farm to fork restaurant. So you get an amazing tomato pie sitting out there enjoying nature. So that's one that I always make sure that we hit. If you want that afternoon ice cream, then you have to go to Wilson's for that. Let's see. Oh, Door County Fish Boil. This is a thing. It's like supper clubs are a thing. Fish boils are a thing. There's, I want to say, 8 places that do them up there. Our preference right now, we like the White Gull Inn. Make a reservation, and this is like dinner and a show. You start out usually out on the patio with some kind of cocktails or refreshments, and you're seeing the fish being cooked in front of you. They have the big fire, they have the pot, they have potatoes, onions, whitefish, and it's not just that you're watching the food being cooked, it's the storyteller of the guy who's cooking it. You learn about the history of the area, how it was built off the fishing industry, what happened in the fishing industry that kind of changed it, why he's cooking the fish the way he is, what's the history of doing the fish boils, and then you get to see the big boil over just before it's finished. And of course, then you get to go inside and taste it. That's the best part too. Okay. And
does Wisconsin still have the Friday night fish fry, or is that a passé thing?
We do have the fish fry. And really
so
hot.
Fish is a big deal here.
Fishing was one of our industries. So we had logging we already touched on. And so now we have the fishing industry. So yes, many different ways to cook fish. I was going to get to fish fries in another one of the cities when I talked about just a little bit. But especially during Lent, you had a huge German and Catholic population in Wisconsin. And Friday nights, fish, because, you weren't going to be eating something else, especially during Lent. But we take it year round. And even a lot of the supper clubs have Friday night fish specials.
Konnichiwa, I'm Yuki, a tour leader with Explore. Who knew that hidden among Tokyo's towering skyscrapers was a peaceful tea house surrounded by ancient trees and serene ponds? Actually, I knew. It was my mother's secret sanctuary. Not everyone knows about Tokyo's Hamarikyu Gardens. Arigatou gozaimasu. But you will if you explore. Search exploreworldwide.com and don't just travel, explore.
These are violent criminals, so they're not going to go down easy.
ABC Tuesdays.
Let's get this done.
The Rookie is back.
We have 2 new rookies starting today.
Howdy.
Being a cop is stressful 24/7. Every year on the job is different.
And Training Day.
We have a serial killer at large.
Never ends.
We need an ambulance!
Rookie. All new Tuesdays on ABC and stream on Hulu.
I remember hearing the story of when Olive Garden expanded into Wisconsin, they do pasta, but they learned that if you're a restaurant in Wisconsin, you do Friday night fish fries. That's just the thing. So they had to change their menu to add this because it was expected.
And you have to add beer along your huge wine selection. Yep.
I would think so, yes.
It goes better with the fish. No offense.
But I suspect we'll get to the beer here, too.
We are going next to Green Bay.
All right, then.
So Green Bay, you do not have to be a beer drinking, cheese eating Packer fan to visit the town, but it helps. There are a lot of fun places to stay, but we love the Hotel Northland. So I don't know about you, but I love staying at vintage properties, and it's situated downtown, like in the entertainment district, but it's been open, I want to say, since 1924. And it's beautiful inside, absolutely fantastic. So it's an experience in itself. And they have a few in-house restaurants, which are nice. Green Bay has so much going on in their food scene. And you wouldn't think, because the town doesn't seem that big. But even if you're not a Green Bay Packer fan, there's things you can do either that you want to check out because of the Packers or that you can do besides the Packers. But I'm going to run you through what I think is almost like the perfect day.
Okay.
So there's a place called the Creamery, and it's a farm to fork place. It's great for breakfast. If you rely on the GPS, you're going to get there in a dead end and think that you've screwed up, and you haven't. You just look up the stairs, take a little left, and it's right up there. But it's like a breakfast, brunch, coffee shop, very distinctive experience. They're known for their like endless mimosas, their Bloody Marys, and they've got incredible coffee. We love the stuffed French toast. That's just one of my weaknesses. I know like some people go for...
I could talk my wife into that easily. So
yes. Oh my gosh. And the candied pecans and the pineapple with the balsamic reduction, and it's like a whole nother level. It's amazing. So after you've waddled out of there, this is where you can go to Titletown Park. And the Packers are privately owned. So
right.
it's...
I know one of the owners of the Green Bay Packers.
Me.
Now I know two.
You're never going to be able to sell the shares and make
Right.
money off of it, but you can say, I'm an owner. So it's just a kind of a fun thing. But so the Lambeau Field, okay, Titletown Park. So it's free. A lot of different things you can check out there, especially if you have kids. They've got a fantastic playground. But they have their legendary Lambeau Field tour. And not every professional team lets you tour their stadium. So they've got a couple of different tiers on the prices of the tours. But I got to tell you, you learn so much about the history and how they basically are a bootstrap team and how they've come to be. And when you get to walk through the tunnel and go out onto the field like they do, you cross the 3 magic bricks that they talk about, and they actually play the cheering for you, so you feel like you're actually in uniform going out onto the field, and it's a really cool experience. So even if you're not a sports fan, that's a fun one to do. And they have the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame in there, and then they own their own pro shop where you can get your very own cheese hat so you can pretend to be me. They're stylish. And if that's not your thing, you can go to the National Railroad Museum, because I don't know about you, but trains are perfect for anybody from 2 to 102. It's one of the oldest and biggest museums devoted to train history in the nation. I think it was founded in like 1956. The Eisenhower collection is one of the key things there. So the Dwight D. Eisenhower steam engine from British Railways, it was used in World War II, and that's one of the focus points of the exhibit. It's really cool.
I do have to ask you a question about the cheesehead hat.
Yes.
I don't know what type of cheese it is. It's got holes like Swiss, and it's orange like cheddar. I'm confused.
We all are. It's okay. We kind of overlook that, but they're surprisingly warm, because I covered Sun Prairie, where I live, is the groundhog capital of the world, and it's February 2nd in Wisconsin. It's a little chilly. I will tell you, they are very warm. So it's a good thing.
Okay.
For lunch, I'm going to tell you, in Green Bay, you want booyah. Again, it's something that's very ethnic and local. It's a Belgian stew. So it's Boyah. And a lot of places will say that they sell booyah, but you need to go to the booyah shed.
Okay.
They've got the best booyah. Trust me, I've tested and gone through town. Although their little nod to the Packers, they make sure the green beans in theirs are both green and yellow, so they're green and gold like the Packers, but it's the best that you can find. And if you're going to get the booyah there, also grab one of their pulled pork sandwiches. They do the handmade
and
barbecue
pulled pork, I know,
sauce.
but I'm still confused about booyah.
It's so a Belgian stew.
Yeah.
Various types of meat. So it could be
Yep.
2 or 3 different kinds of meat in there. Lots of veggies, rich broth. Sometimes they use a little bit of like oxtail for the zip.
Yeah.
It's a very ethnic thing and it's hard to describe, but once you taste it, you'll roll your eyes back up in your head.
And say booyah. Okay.
Ooh. I have no idea where the name actually came from, but it's a hoot. So that was the best place that I found that had it. Green Bay Botanical Gardens, 47 acres of land, 13 different garden groupings, several different fun themes in there. It's beautiful. And they have a lot of art sculptures throughout the whole thing. I could spend a whole day there, but it really is something that if you're into gardens, it's one to make sure that you put on your list to check out.
And I am told by the internet, which must be right, that booyah is based on the Wisconsin pronunciation of bouillon, based on somebody's inability to spell it. I
Well, there
don't
you
know
go.
if that's true, but it's on the internet, so it must be true.
It's a great urban legend. Wisconsin has 11 different Native American tribes in it. And in Green Bay, you've got the Oneida. They have, let's see, it's the Radisson Hotel and Conference Center that they oversee. They have, it's called Cedar and Sage Grill House. And that's where you want to go for dinner. Start with a caramel apple old fashioned. The layers of flavor are incredible. It's got like apple crown royal, caramel syrup, sparkling apple cider. It's fall in a glass, but it's great any time of the year. So what's neat is that the Oneida tribe designs their menu around Native culture. They supply a lot of it from the Oneida Nation farms. So they're almost totally farm to fork within their own system. Authentic dishes, Oneida white maize, bison fillets, the whole thing. It is, if you like farm to fork in ethnic cooking, it's not super ethnic. It's got an ethnic twist to it. Like they do a neat vegetable dish that is off of the Three Sisters, but it is definitely, I think, a must hit when you're in Green Bay.
The Three Sisters. We're
So
not
corn?
talking about the Kardashians or okay, there we go. Okay.
the three planting of corn. It was like corn, squash, and is it beans? Something that climbs the corn and then the squash spreads out to stop the weeds. I have to double check on that one.
Okay.
So Green Bay, you're not that far away from Sheboygan, and that takes us to stop number 5. We're zipping through the state here really fast here.
You were right. Beans is the third. Corn, beans, and squash. All right. Full points.
There we go. I passed the test. Now, Sheboygan, that's on my list because it's like known as the Malibu of the Midwest. And it has 34 gorgeous parks, and you're talking right on the lake. It's stunning, but they've got a lot happening also. If you're going to stay there overnight, stay at the Blue Harbor Resort. So it's got a laid-back beach vibe. A lot of family-friendly activities. They have their own little mini water park in case you didn't spend any time at the Dells. And you can sit on the balcony. You can go down more by the beach area where they have all these chairs set out. Perfect to see that sunrise coming up or the sunset going down. And the lake, the lighthouse, they're all within walking distance. It's just stunning, and it's in a perfect location for doing other things inside Sheboygan.
And this is one of those old grand hotels here. We're not just talking about a Holiday Inn. So
no, it's almost think like Dirty Dancing in the resorts back in the day. But when you walk in the front door, you can see all the way through the lobby, and you can see the lake and the beauty as you're walking in. Even it's got that laid back, open air, beachy vibe. It's stunning, and their staff is fantastic.
Okay.
Now, breakfast, Seabooth Deli, and get the tachos.
Okay.
When I looked at this menu, I'm like, tachos? So, okay, it's a tater tot breakfast.
Okay.
So they're handmade 3-cheese sauce. Then they put the tater tots on there. They top it with eggs and bacon bits they're nice, all crispy and all of that. And then so the eggs and the bacon crumbles are on the top of it. So it sounds strange and it looks very interesting when it's served, but Oh my gosh, it is incredible. They freshly grind the local coffee is known as Torquay coffee. So that you walk in, you see all these beautiful clean white tiles, you smell the freshly ground coffee, and you have to get the tachos. Before you leave though, get a cookie. They're like as big as your head. So you got to have a couple for like when you're traveling to day 6 or day 7. One cookie is enough for 2 or 3 people to share easily. They're just fun.
So I'm like dieting the week before I come and the week after. Isn't that pretty much what I
We've
expect?
balanced some outdoor experiences, so you'll get some walking
right.
or kayaking. And like next, I'm taking you to Kohler Andre State Park there. So you've got 2 kilometers of sandy beach on Lake Michigan at the Kohler Andre State Park. They have kayaking, swimming. They have an amazing nature center there. So if you like outdoor experiences, that's cool. Not that far away, you can check out the James Tellen Woodland Sculpture Garden. I'm a huge nut for folk art. I think that it's interesting getting into the minds of these people who are very prolific, very specific with their art. And James Tellen's, he's over 30 concrete sculptures, some as large as life. And it's a walk-through display there. And it was just a 15-year snippet of his life where he was doing this art. You're in the woods walking through his different sculptures in different areas. You're going to turn around and look, there's deer over there. It's really a neat kind of surreal experience, but you'll see some things that like a guy who's splitting logs, and that's one of the sculptures. It's just a unique experience. It's one of those things that Sheboygan has the Kohler Art Center where 35 different folk artists are featured with snippets of their work in there. To be able to go into an area where one of these folk artists and you can see their line in their element, that's just a cool experience.
Okay.
Now we're taking you to lunch. Sheboygan, you got to have a brat. So if you're not familiar, these are German sausages in a casing. So if it's not the summer, you want to go to Sly's Midtown Saloon. So it's a really unpretentious American comfort sports bar place. But one of their daily specials they do, it's a brat plate. So you have a double brat on the bun, American potato salad and baked beans. And yes, there's butter on the baked beans. It's a thing. Trust me, it's good. Taste it. Don't question it. You can add onions, mustard, sauerkraut, whatever you want to your brats. There's no wrong way to eat them. If it is during the summer, you want to go to Meesfield's Market. They're a huge market. They have 35 different kinds of brats, but on the weekends they do a brat hut, and it's a community fundraiser. Every weekend a different nonprofit takes it over, and they do a brat fry, and it's really cool when you can buy it and taste a Sheboygan brat, but yet you're also giving back to their local community some way.
Got it. I will let you know that, as I was mentioning before the show, before we started recording to Dannelle, I've got roots going back to the 1850s in Wisconsin. And when I go to a Giants game, I still get a Sheboygan brat. So I'm true to my roots.
Bless you, my child. If you're into gardens, okay, if you can't make the one in Green Bay, check out Bookworm Gardens in Sheboygan. This might be my favorite garden, I think, maybe ever, because they have 65 individual gardens, but each one is based off a different children's book. So they have copies of the laminated books there that you can take. You can sit down with the kids in the chairs from the Three Little Bears, or in the cabin from Laura Ingalls' Little House in the Big Woods, or you can be right next to Jack and the Beanstalk, or you can wash Harry the Dirty Dog. It's really the beautifully done gardens, well incorporated with the kids. It's just such a neat, whimsical, and fun place. It's cool. Fall and winter, if you can't get to Sheboygan Gardens, I talked about it's the art preserve at the John Michael Kohler Art Center, and that's where you can see folk art displayed and talked about from 35 different folk artists. But they have some great shopping down there, great chocolate shop, a Victorian chocolate shop, all sorts of fun things. But okay, Italian for dinner. I know, isn't this terrible? Food and more food. But Lino Ristorante Italiano. It's an enchanting place, and he has it so that it goes back to his childhood favorites from, I'm going to get this wrong, the Amalfi Coast.
Oh, sure.
And then uses more modern techniques that he's developed through his career here. So he's been in the business a long time. He's like one of those old world charmers, but the food is incredible. Melt in your mouth desserts and some classics like lasagna, spaghetti, bolognese. What did I have? Shrimp over something risotto. And it was mouthwatering. It was one of those things that I could probably wake up in the middle of the night and go, I wish I had that again.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
So we're going to now zip over and go to Milwaukee. So that's not that much farther. We're just going down south a little bit. And you could easily spend a week in Milwaukee. There's so much to do there. And it depends. Some people are arts people, so they really love theater and things like that. Some people more museum-y. Some people, they've got an incredible food and music scene going on. But it's like Broadway in our backyard. There's 11 different theaters in their theater district. And it's everything from a pay-as-you-go place all the way up to top of the line symphony orchestra. I just spent some time chatting with the people from the Marcus Performing Arts Center, and they bring Broadway productions in and do a ton of community outreach engagement and involvement also. They're a nonprofit theater, but they're doing amazing things down there. They're actually partnered with Donald Driver for a few things. And when they do different productions, they even do signature drinks for them. So like when they had Legally Blonde come in, the signature drink was a Bend and Ginger Snap. So they partner with a liquor company then to create custom drinks. It's just a fun thing. Museums. Oh my gosh. Milwaukee Art Museum. You have one thing that I thought was amazing. It's America's Black Holocaust Museum is there. And you probably don't think, ooh, a Holocaust museum, yay. But it is an incredibly well done walkthrough of history, and it's put together by the only known survivor of a lynching. I took a couple teenagers with me, and we were there for almost 2 hours, and it was the first time teenagers have ever been quiet, at least around me. There's one spot where it's almost like you're in the hold of a slave transport ship, and I invite everybody to just lay down underneath there and look up and try and imagine what it was like being in that situation, in that exact position for almost a 3-month trip. It's just one of those places where, when they first told me about it, I was getting goosebumps. But you're not going to find that experience, I don't think, anywhere else. Food. Oh my gosh. So there was a huge German settlement and population there. And so we got a lot of good beer happening. And now a lot of microbreweries are popping up. One of my favorites was they crowdfunded and crowdsourced ideas for flavors and names. So you never know what's going to exactly be on the menu, but it is a hoot. And oh my gosh, I just totally forgot the name. My husband walked right through the room. I could have him tell me in a minute. Oh, I'll get back to that. German food, though, Mader's Restaurant. It's like an institution. If you like really good old world German food, Mader's is the place to go. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts now. Okay. I'll get back to you on that. I'll make sure that you know that the great microbrewery. I loved it. That's going to drive me nuts. Okay. We'll get back to that.
Mob Craft Beer?
Thank you. It's Mobcraft Brewing. Yes, they are. You can do tours there, but just the crowdsourcing, and they're fun. They enjoy what they're doing. They run a serious business, but they seriously don't take themselves serious.
No, I will not say the name of some of the beers on the air.
I know, but they're good, and they managed to really perfect. It was like a smoothie beer that didn't necessarily taste like beer, but they were able to pull the hops out before it over fermented or whatever, because I've seen a lot of people who've tried to do fruit beers and it was nasty, but they've done some really amazing things with what they have. So yes, you cannot necessarily say some of the names over the air. No.
But there are some, like peanut butter, then this chocolate porter is, I can certainly say, or grasshopper milk stout. But there's a few.
Yeah. I was like, no, that one you've got 2 words you can't say. What's nice about that is when I'm looking at microbreweries, and I'm part of a group, we call ourselves the Beer Chasers. We have T-shirts and everything, and we check out different microbreweries in Wisconsin. They have food. That's very important because almost every microbrewery you can get a beer flight and sample different beers, but you got to have pretzels, pizza, or something in there. You got to have food, and they have some really yummy food there.
Okay.
Milwaukee, they have an amazing zoo. If you have kids or grandkids with you, the Discovery Center is absolutely fantastic. And then they've got tons of different dinner cruises and river cruises and things like that in the area too.
You say the
Let's
Discovery Center. Is that associated with the zoo or is that a separate thing?
That's a separate thing. It's
Okay.
like a very hands-on STEM children's museum almost.
Got it.
So very STEM focused.
Mhm.
But it's one of those things that sometimes you go through, and as an adult, they have an amazing set of different things. Like anybody can lay on the bed of nails and realize this is really cool. They have a great maker space. They have, oh my gosh, a huge exhibit of guitars and guitar history, and talk about some of the incredible legends of the time and what they brought to music and stuff like that.
Excellent. When you say STEM, and I don't know how widespread that term is, so those who don't know it, we're talking science, technology, engineering, and math.
Right. Some people have added art into that.
Okay.
So some people call it STEAM. I call it STEM. But it's things that I think that we used to always engage and enjoy as kids, but now they have real names for it.
Okay.
So from Milwaukee, then, we're going to go a little bit more to the center. We're going to finally hit the capital of the state, and we're going to spend a day in Madison. So I'm always a fan of things that are free, because if I do free things, that means I have more money to enjoy the local food and flavors of the area or buy souvenirs. I'm a t-shirt junkie. So the Wisconsin State Capitol building, it's actually the third capital of Wisconsin, but it is absolutely gorgeous. The tours are free. And just walk into the center and look up at the rotunda. The art is absolutely just astounding. So like I said, you can get a free tour of it, the different kinds of marble, everything that they've got involved in that. It's just an architectural feat. A lot of the kinds of techniques that they used for that, they just don't have the craftsmanship for that anymore. Right across the street is the Wisconsin Veterans Museum, also free. So you mentioned the Civil War and a great something grandfather.
Something, yep.
Something. And so going before him from the, I want to say, Spanish-American War on up, they have snippets and displays, and they talk about different parts and people, and they go all the way up through current times. And it's a really great tribute, I think, to the veterans. It's very well done. And then again, free. And while you're there, you're right at the head of Madison's famous State Street. So it's a 6 blocks. You can walk down, check out the unique shops, the eateries, the fun stuff. You find yourself almost down in the entrance to the university campus. You're really close to over to the Union Terrace. You can sit out there on the deck. You can have a beer. You can listen to live music. You can look over at the lake. Or work your way back up State Street and check out, there's a restaurant on the square called the Old Fashioned. So it's a supper club with a twist. They're known for their brandy old fashions, because in Wisconsin we're brandy drinkers.
With beer drinkers.
We beer drinkers too, but brandy, especially over bourbon in this state. After World War II,
okay,
they found a huge cache of brandy outside of Chicago. And during that time, you had a choice. You're coming off the war, which was right after the Depression. It was hard to get things to make things. So you had a choice in Wisconsin of really bad booze or all of this good brandy that all of a sudden was flooding the area. So all the World War II veterans were drinking the brandy. Then their kids drank the brandy. Then my generation was drinking the brandy. And it keeps going. I think to this date, we still take 70% of the Korbel out of California just in Wisconsin.
I did not know that. Interesting.
So great old fashions at the Old Fashioned. They have beautiful lazy Susans that are charcuteries and around classic presentation for you. And if you don't want that, are you familiar with the old Harvey House train stop days?
Are you talking about Ted Harvey in the Southwest? I am actually just reading the book about Fred Harvey. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, and was just in Santa Fe at one of the Fred Harvey hotels. So yes.
Okay, this is perfect then. I even love the Judy Garland movie that talked about it.
I have never seen the Judy Garland movie, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they're not related to these people, but they have the same name, and they were really inspired by them. And so they refurbished part of the old train depot and created this amazing restaurant. Their service is incredible. Their food is fantastic. But the Harvey House, it is definitely a destination wow.
Okay. And for those who aren't familiar, Fred Harvey back in the late 1800s was trying to civilize New Mexico, Arizona kind of region of the U.S. one meal at a time, basically serving good meals in half an hour to the people who came to the trains, and then opening up hotels. And really, a lot of the tourism in that area started with him and with the Atchison, Topeka, and Kansas City Railroad. Fascinating story. I'll put a link in the show notes to the book about him, but I understand why someone might be inspired by that. A generation before us, or two generations before us, you wouldn't have to ask, have you heard of the Harvey story? Because, as we say, it was even a big Hollywood movie in the 1930s, I want to say.
Late 30s, early 40s. I know it had Judy Garland in it, but the Harvey girls were a thing. They had their big starched uniforms and fancy hats, and they were the girl next door who was serving you. They were single ladies.
One of the first ways that women in the U.S. could go to another city and have a job, and they had dormitories and things like that to make sure that they were chaperoned. Oh, absolutely. But it was a fairly major change for women in the U.S. in terms of that as a career opportunity.
And when train travel started to decline on that, he was also doing a lot of like almost overpass restaurants before like the Howard Johnson's people did it. So he was quite an innovator.
Back in the days of Route 66. Yeah, it finally got sold off, I think, in the late 60s. Once the interstates came in and you lost all that traffic, then the whole Harvey empire got sold off to another company.
So yeah, the Harvey House, put it on your list, because it's one of those things for people who love trains. It's one of the things that, top 7 things for train lovers to experience.
Okay.
Now, if you manage to hit Madison on a Saturday, when you're downtown Saturday morning, they have the nation's largest producers-only farmers market. Okay. So it's absolutely amazing to go to. You have to hunt down Stella's Bakery and get their spicy cheese bread.
Okay. All right.
And of course, you want to get fresh cheese curds, because real Wisconsinites don't really care if they're deep fried or not. We like the fresh, squeaky cheese curds. Okay. So the squeakier, the fresher they are. You have to just choose, do you want the white ones or the yellow ones? But fresh cheese curds, definitely. And I've taken you on a 7-day tour.
You don't put gravy on yours like the people over the border there do.
No, it's not poutine. We eat them fresh right out of the bag. And when you bring home fresh cheese curds, if you go a day or two and you're losing the squeak, you can zap them for like just 5 to 10 seconds and it brings your squeak right back.
Okay, that I did not know.
Okay, I'm full of tips for you today. This is good. So I know that I've taken you through 7 cities in 7 days roughly with this already. Yep. We have to make another trip already, because I couldn't talk about La Crosse and Oshkosh, Manitowish Waters, Manitowoc, Mineral Point, Lake Geneva. That's like another whole trip.
If you had one more day and you could add one of those, what just missed your list?
Lake Geneva. From Milwaukee, I would go to Lake Geneva and then come to Wisconsin. Especially the water. They have several different amazing boat tours. It's a beautiful place. They have some great farm to fork restaurants, some unique restaurants. Yerkes Observatory is there. So there's a huge whole history about Yerkes Observatory. But I'd have to say Lake Geneva.
Excellent. Anything else someone needs to know before they go to Wisconsin?
If you're an outdoor enthusiast, I think I touched on that we have 49 amazing state parks. We have the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore. We have the Ice Age Trail, which is over 1,000 miles of beautiful hiking in different areas. Those are the best trails that we have. We don't really have the Supper Club Trail or the Tenderloin Trail or whatever like some of these other states do. But if you're a nature lover, it doesn't matter what season, there's things that you can do outdoors. If you, like I said, you like culture, museums, and art, I think we've talked about something in every city so far that's absolutely fantastic to do. And hands down, the food here is so diverse and amazing.
Got it. As we go to wrap this up, you're standing in the prettiest spot in Wisconsin. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
My backyard? No, that's a tough one. Oh my gosh. I guess I would be in... Oh, Wyalusing State Park. I really love the state
Interesting.
parks. I like
Okay.
camping. I love nature. I love seeing everything from bald eagles nesting to seeing well-organized militia that we call trash pandas that work their way through the parks. It's just, I'm an outdoors gal, so I love the beauty of
Well,
nature. I don't think anyone can top that.
and when you said the Dells, I knew what to picture. When you said even the Apostle Islands, I knew what to picture. Wyalusing is not on my radar. So, what am I going to see in Wyalusing State Park?
That's just a tiny little bit off of the Great River Road, which runs up almost all of the west side of Wisconsin. Wyalusing State Park, it's got beautiful hiking, it's beautiful views, and you're close to places like Villa Louis, which is one of the, I want to say, 14 historical sites that the Wisconsin Historical Society has together. So it's a mansion that you can go ahead and tour. You can see Pete's Hamburgers is a vintage hamburger stand where you can go ahead and get his hamburger that's done in a very unique way compared to other people that started when he did. There's just a lot of fun things that are happening in that area down there. But
Okay.
the beauty, like I said, Wisconsin is truly a beautiful state, and we have so many beautiful things outside to look at.
Excellent. One thing that makes you laugh and say only in Wisconsin.
Ooh, cheese hats wasn't enough for you. Okay.
I could give you cheese hats, let's be fair. That
Or the fact that we like drink 70% of the brandy pretty much from the United States here in our state. Let's see, only in Wisconsin. Ooh. We have 3 professional teams. We're lucky to have the Brewers, the Bucks, and the Packers. There aren't a whole lot of states that have 3 major teams in their same state, with fans so diehard that they will go in and shovel the stadium if there's a blizzard before a game. Really, the
Okay.
Packers, they will have people who will come in and they will shovel the stadium if there's a blizzard right before a game. I don't know if you can find many more people that
That's
do
funny.
fun stuff like that.
And if you had to summarize Wisconsin in just 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
Ooh. Nature, people, culture. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but
That's exactly what I'm looking for. I didn't pick which 3 words. There were no particular 3 words I was looking for. Our guest again is Dannelle Gay, travelingcheesehead.com. And Dannelle, if we want to send people to your best work on Wisconsin, are we sending them there? Are we sending them to one of your books, or where are we sending them?
you can send them to travelingcheesehead.com. It links to my books, my coffee, my articles, and I'll be putting the links to my TV segments in there pretty soon too.
And we say books. I know you've got 3 books coming out this year, at least one of which is out already. What are your new books?
So this year, that's 100 Things to Do in Wisconsin Before You Die is my one that just came out, and that's the one I'm using to give a lot of money away to nonprofits this year. The next book, I partnered with some other Midwest Travel Network writers that are absolutely incredible, and we have Midwest State Park Adventures coming. So I've got the Wisconsin chapter talking about all of our state parks, and then I'm working with Rady Press. I'm just finishing up Unique Eats and Eateries of Wisconsin. So that might be part of the heavy influence of the food today.
Got it. Got it. Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your love for your home state of Wisconsin.
Thank you so much for having me.
Special thanks to the patrons of the show who help support Amateur Traveler financially. If you're interested in learning how to become a patron of the show because you've had a great vacation thanks to Amateur Traveler, go to patreon.com/Amateur Traveler. I heard recently from Angie, who's a patron of the show, who said, "Hello, Chris. You mentioned you needed some information or testimonials about how AT helped our travels. In my quest to visit all 50 states, my husband and I planned a road trip from coastal Texas to North Dakota. Amateur Traveler podcasts 523 and 706, as well as your articles and itineraries, helped me plan a great trip. We drove through Kansas, which we had already visited. Unfortunately, episode 828 on Nebraska Nebraska came out just after our return. We did stop in Kansas at the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center that we enjoyed. No stop in Dodge City as we had previously visited. A sublime drive through western Nebraska took us to the Black Hills of South Dakota, where we concentrated our time. Mount Rushmore was beautiful. Custer State Park did not disappoint in hiking and wildlife viewing opportunities. Sylvan Lake and the Needles Highway offered a full afternoon of fun. Lake Practola was so beautiful and provided a respite from the heat we had hoped to escape from Texas. Several breweries and wineries were also refreshing stops. We spent a few hours in Deadwood for a bit of the history, but are not gamblers, so needless to say we did not stay long. Spearfish Canyon made for lovely hiking and driving. We followed your itinerary to North Dakota via Devil's Tower National Monument, Wyoming, and Medicine Rocks, Montana. Loved this drive. But we enjoy wide open spaces, and this trip did not disappoint. We spent 2 days in North Dakota and Medora touring the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. I can only type wow. Enjoyed the quaint town and the park, and have spoken to everyone I know about this as a must-see in the U.S. There's a small map in Medora with pins placed by people who travel to this remote town, and we placed nearly the only one from mid-Texas coast. I don't know if any of this rambling will help, but thanks for the opportunity to relive this trip as I type this out. Keep up the great work. Maybe the 2024 trip will be an opportunity to meet. Angie. Thanks so much, Angie. I enjoyed reliving my trips through some of what you did there, especially Custer National Park, Devil's Tower, and the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And those are all covered in an article on the site, I should point out, as Angie mentioned. And speaking of articles on the site, I do have 2 new articles in the last couple weeks about my trip to Santa Fe and also my trip to Scottsdale, Arizona. So always remember that there's not just listening, but reading is also available on amateurtraveler.com. And with that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to host@amateurtraveler.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And thanks so much for listening.
Got to see one more.